All right. Thank you again, Madhukar Kotwal, for joining me. And it's bringing me wonderful memories of our work together in Larsen and Toubro, where you were instrumental in creating that collaborative culture. And of course, it took several years to create that. And I would like you to recollect that journey of how it started, what were the key features of that journey, and how even after that creation of that collaborative culture, how it benefited even afterwards. So please
Okay. Yeah,
share.
pleasure talking to you as always. Um, Looking at my rather long career with a single company like L&T, over 47 years I worked with that company, and it's been an education for me personally, and I've been sort of very lucky in handling tasks of completely varying kinds at different locations, and therefore I could sort of observe some of the good things and try to at least give up some of things which are undesirable. So after having worked for 18 years in Powai first, then we had this new uh, dimension, setting up a very large facility in Hazira, and that gave an opportunity again, because in every such challenge there's always a huge opportunity. So the we could unlearn, or at least try to unlearn some of the things that were happening in, let's say, Powai, and could sort of write on a clean slate in Hazira. That was one of the advantages. Having said so, what I found is that many things which were deeply embedded in the culture at Powai, at that time, Powai certainly had a command and control kind of a culture, which was a thing of the past and probably necessary in those days. But over a period of time, there was a need to sort of look at a different way of doing things. And this is where I did find this entire movement, which I must give full credit to Kulkarni. SD Kulkarni was the CEO at that time, and Devasari. They were essentially people who believed in involvement of people in decision making and everyday kind of activities and so on. So they did give a lot of freedom to people. At the same time, they brought in this kind of a, I would say, a new fresh air of collaborative thinking. And those are the days then we started off the TQM movement, and Anil Sachdev at that time, later on, you had also joined, and that is something which really, at least, impressed me as to the power behind this collaboration. From a traditional point of view, it is like, why should people so-called waste their time in activities which are mingling with each other, having a lot of teamwork, when individuals can do everything else and excel. So this whole thing actually I found quite impressive. The second input I got was, as one of the learnings of the new things and unlearnings of the past, we wanted to introduce the Kaizen culture in Hazira, as opposed to the earlier suggestion scheme kind of a thing, which was deeply embedded in Powai. And again, this whole thing, after we had actually appointed some consultants to learn about it, and I must say, Magapu and me, who were at Hazira at that time, and we could at least attempt to introduce something different. And as always, all these things have to start from the top. It's not something that you just evolve over a period of time. So we had to do a lot of learning, but having done that, we could see that even the simple things of Kaizen, where you sort of concentrate or emphasize seed improvements rather than things which are quite big and perceptible, those are things which were very good learnings. And then we introduced this whole thing, which based on collaboration, picking up from the various inputs that we got from you personally, where we found that the real power of individuals is gets multiplied through collaboration, and these techniques certainly helped. Now, having done that, this actually, I keep calling it the real bedrock or the foundation of what we could achieve in Hazira, was because of the this foundation which was laid through collaboration. Taking a simple example of, as I was mentioning, Kaizen, we started giving emphasis to improvements not in your own area of work, but when you do something which you have taken an idea along with somebody else, worked along with him or her, and made a success of it, those improvements are given higher weightage in number of points. Every single improvement we used to have evaluated through various yardsticks. So again, this whole thing of the other part was, of course, the so-called what I would call a British legacy. To that extent, it's a master slave, and you've got a seniority and hierarchy going on in various operations. That becomes a killer because you think and you assume that the boss knows everything, and others have to really follow and not say anything which will be different from what the boss thinks. This we could substantially change in Hazira because of the fact that I myself have always believed that there's a lot of learning which I personally have had from my workmen. And what you learn in schools and colleges, most of it actually does not get practically used. So this kind of involvement, where we could bring out this culture where people sort of talk to each other and in a real sense, meaningful sense, getting ideas across, implementing. We started something like improvement teams, whatever names we call it, but essentially there were some chronic issues. Now, chronic issues like there could be a problem and of a particular type, it could be a manufacturing problem or a procurement problem, anything like that. And we formed teams involving the junior most workmen in that team, for example, the manufacturing shops. And I can tell you that the kind of thinking that these people, the kind of innovation that these people brought to bear was an education itself. And we could achieve many of these improvements through these collaborative teams. So this is something which over the years I have believed very strongly in, and I'm definitely of the firm belief that this is something which has helped us in our journey in Hazira, especially making it competitive globally. In the initial days, I mean, India always had this cost arbitrage, but I that's another thing which I hate to say that many of us think that India should concentrate on business because the costs are low. I always think that then in that case we are sort of demeaning our own human capabilities. As humans, we are equal or better than all who are the best. So we should not think of cost as the main thing, but of what we can add as value and value per individual. So efficiency per individual, per capita is what we should concentrate on, and then we'll do our best through collaborative efforts.
Well, thank you so much for summarizing it so well. Just to a company which is launching to cultivate a collaborative culture, what are the couple of key advice you would give in terms of their implementation? What are the key things to watch out?
Okay, so when anyone in any organization wants to start a collaborative culture, first of all, at least I can talk about the Indian context. Culture really starts from the top. I mean, the culture of an organization is decided primarily by the person at the helm because he or she has the responsibility of setting a certain trend. So, if a major change has to be made in any organization, the top person who is a person in authority has to be convinced that that is an approach which will deliver results. See, there's a problem with too much focus on results, and of course, there's a problem on too much focus on just the process. You need a blend of both. But if you want to achieve results through change in processes, the person at the helm must believe that a collaborative culture can really achieve those things. Now, that can only happen through a lot of interaction because I don't think any organization, no matter how old or new it is, can say that I know it all. There are experiments which have been conducted. You have to read about them, understand, and of course, listen to people. And that's how you develop that kind of conviction. Having developed it, then the next step of involving people, and in my observation, the people who are junior level people, whether it's the staff or the workmen, blue collar or white collar, the junior people have no baggage as such, so they can adopt and understand these new techniques pretty well. It is the middle management which carries a lot of baggage, which is always the more difficult thing area to change. So when you start this kind of a culture, you have to convince this the next level um, to really participate in the whole thing. At least try it, if not with the guarantee of success. But once they put in their effort, everything sails smoothly. So whether it's a new kind of, like we introduced theory of constraints, I am quite a passionate believer in that. And that again, the basis is collaborative culture. So I think this is the starting point. Having done that, yes, there are methods are many, and it's not as if only one works and one the other doesn't. But the essential part is whether you respect the people who are working with you and take them along, where you're convinced that you need to take them along emotionally. If you're convinced about that, then there are methods about. That's what I would say.
Thank you so much.